Hello Sharks. Before we get to today's video, I have a very, very special gift for you. I'm giving you a free video from poker coaching coach Matt Affleck, where he is preparing himself and his students for the World Series of Poker. He's going through their online databases and looking for spots where they could play a whole lot better. This is actually part of a 9-hour-long series that Matt Affleck just released at pokercoaching.com, and you can get the first part completely for free. Check it out at pokercoaching.com/WSOP. Let's get to the video. Hello there, Sharks. I'm Jonathan Little for PokerNews.com, here today with a hand from the $10,000 buy-in GG Poker Millions. It takes place every week on GG. Here we have a hand, heads up. They are playing for a whole boatload of money. First place in this tournament is $325,000. Second is $254,000. So they're playing a casual $50,000 buy-in-ish heads-up match between the two of these players. We have Artur Matrosian. Do you all know who he is? You may not if you are not following the high-stakes scene, but he is absolutely smashing it. He won the $100,000 buy-in Super High Roller Bowl Europe just the other day for $1.4 million. And a bunch of other stuff. Look at all these wins. This is just ridiculous. He also has almost $17 million, 17 after this game, in cashes on GG. Absolutely crushing it. I can't even make it any clearer how hard he is crushing the games. It's a lot of fun to see. His opponent today is Samuel Bosden, another very strong player. $4.5 million in cashes on GG. He's in there. He's battling it out. Let's take a look at this interesting hand featuring these two world-class players. So we are playing with a 120,000 chip big blind. I know some of you in the YouTube comments said, why aren't we looking at these in the terms of big blinds? Which, to be fair, you probably should do if you're playing online. But you have to realize a lot of people play live poker. And in live poker, an important skill is to know how to divide. Let me show you all, for those who do not know how to do it. I'll show you how to convert the number of big blinds you have, the chips into the number of big blinds you have. You're always playing the shortest effective stack. So in this scenario, that would be 6.4 million. 6, 4, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. Lots of zeros. Divided by 120,000. There you go. 53 big blind effective stacks. You need to get good at this because when you're playing live poker, you have a bunch of chips and you have to learn to stack them, you have to learn to count them, and you have to learn to figure out how many big blinds you have. Anyway, now that we are past that, pocket sixes seems like a very nice hand to raise. Heads up. I suppose you could limp it and then call a raise, whatever. Seems like a nice spot to raise, though. Ace-7 offsuit. This is a hand that a lot of people re-raise because they think, well, I have the best hand. And, that may be reasonable if your opponents are weak, tight, and passive, but the default play by far is to just call. You do not want to re-raise Ace-7 and then face a 4-bet because then you have to fold a hand that is quite strong. Typically, you want to be seeing the flop with hands that flop very, very well, unless, of course, you're happy playing a 4-bet pot with them. And Ace-7 is not one of those. If you have a weaker hand, you can certainly put in the 3-bet, because then you don't mind folding it to a 4-bet. But Ace-7 is a hand you definitely want to see the flop with. So, Martirosian calls. Flop comes Jack, Jack, Jack. 3 jacks. Out of position players are going to check here every time. And now Samuel just needs to make a continuation bet. He goes for a big size, which is interesting. I will say that I am definitely not the most studied player when it comes to playing 50 big blinds, heads up matches. Perhaps these players are better than me, so I'm just going to default and assume whatever they are doing is excellent. Samuel does go for the big bet, about 3/4 pot, which is logical, right? In this scenario, whatever Martirosian has plenty of equity, right? So you don't really care if he folds out a hand like King-Queen or 9-8, right? I don't think King-Queen's going to fold, but if you can get a hand like 9-8 to fold for a bet, that's perfectly fine. That said, I think maybe you're supposed to just go smaller. There's no reason to think Martirosian has a hand that can reasonably call in this spot. He's going to obviously call with ace-highs and like king-high, but I think he's going to have a lot of junks that's just going to have to fold here immediately. So I think I would have bet a little bit smaller here, but again, I'm going to presume whatever Samuel's doing is optimal. Martirosian obviously cannot fold the ace-high. He turns a 7, instantly checks, and you may say, wow, why is he playing so fast? Why wouldn't he lead here? Well, because if he leads, what's going to give him action? Good ace-high and pairs. How do you do against good ace high? Well, you're crushing them, but you have an ace, so you block those. How are you doing against pairs? Well, the lower pairs you're smashing, but the over pairs you're not. Also, in this scenario, when he does turn the 7, he now has Samuel in pretty bad shape in general. Usually Samuel's going to have just 2 overcards to the 7, which have 6 outs, about 12-ish% equity, not a lot. Or, he just has a hand that's basically drawing dead, right? Or sometimes he's beat. In scenarios like this, even though this ace-7 is really strong, he's in a spot where if a lot of money goes in the pot, he is either way ahead or way behind, and usually when all the money goes in the pot 50 big blinds deep, you're way behind in this scenario. So very nice spot to check and just let Samuel continue betting, right? And I do think Samuel should probably continue betting in this spot. He has the best hand the vast majority of the time. And if he is against an overpair, well, first off, a lot of the overpairs re-raise pre-flop, so that's unlikely. If he is against a jack, that's probably going to just call, and it's going to go check on the river, right? So that's fine. You're not going to be against a 7 all that often. If you think about it, you're really only going to be against hands like ace 7 and king 7. I think everything else is not even there. So this is a spot where even though Samuel does have the worst hand now, betting definitely makes a lot of sense. Because, again, ace high is going to call, maybe king high calls. And if random hands like that do fold, it's not that big of a deal anyway. That said, I do think, again, I would have bet smaller here because if you are against a 6-out hand, well, they're drawing thin, right? Obviously, a jack or 7 gives them additional outs so they don't have 6 outs. Like, say you are against king 9 here, right? They can get a king, 3 outs there, a 9, 3 outs there, a jack, 1 out there, and also a 7 chops, right? So some outs there. So this is a spot where your opponents don't have 6 outs anymore. They have 7, 8, 9, 10 outs, right? So anyway, Samuel does go for a big bet, which I think is definitely defensible. And with the 7, I think I would just call again and give Samuel every possible opportunity to bluff with whatever bluffs he has. You have to realize when Samuel does go big, you have to presume he's very polarized, meaning he either has a hand he thinks is good, like what, a pair or better, or he's trying to get you to fold a hand that has decent showdown value, like a king or a queen or an ace. So if he has a hand that he thinks is good, a 7 could easily be in bad shape. And if he has nothing, well, he's probably drawing thin or dead, right? So this is a spot where I think you just want to call. But let's see what Martrosian does. Gives it some thought. You know what? While he's thinking, take a second. Think about what you would do in this spot. What would you do? Obviously, you're not folding. But would you call? Would you raise small to about 2.1 million? Or would you rip it all in? Use some logic, figure it out, write what you would do in the comment section below. All right, this is a tricky one. Again, I have no clue what the right play is. There's a chance you're supposed to just min raise and play for all the money. I don't think you want to jam. I think jamming would be really bad. If you jam, you're only going to get called by pairs, I have to presume, or maybe like ace king. But again, you block that, right? So I hate jamming. Min raising has some merit because then that's just going to give Samuel really good odds to stick around with a bunch of junk, which is fine. But I think I would just call here and then check call it off. Archer does call. Good. River 7. What a weird spot. What should you do with the ace 7 here? So in scenarios like this, where you could be against the nuts, I think you probably just want to check. That said, if you think for some reason that Samuel literally never has a jack, and you think he will not raise a bet with any bluffs, then I think leading actually does gain a little bit of merit. Because in this scenario, Martrosian would never raise, or very, very unlikely raise, with a hand like a jack on the flop, right? And on the turn, he would also just call with a jack because he wants to do everything he can to keep Samuel in. So given Martrosian can't have a lot of jacks, I don't hate leading. The only problem here is that Samuel could have a lot of jacks as well, right? Weird spot. Let's see how this one plays out. Martrosian giving it some thought. 60% pot. I don't think I would ever have made this play. Why? Because Samuel's going to have some jacks sometimes that you lose to, and he's never going to fold a hand like pocket eights. But Martrosian does it. Is this somehow going to get Samuel to fold? What do you think? What do you think? Is the suspense building? Are you excited? If you're excited, click the like button, click the subscribe button, click the notification bell. Show YouTube that you're excited. Excuse me. Samuel just ripped it all in. For 2.7 million more. Into the pot that will be 13 million if Martrosian calls. Obviously, he's calling for a chop, so he's only going to get half of that back. Right? So he has to put in 3 to try to win 6 total. Look, I literally never would have jammed here in Samuel's shoes because I don't think there's a world where Martrosian would fold out a chop, although maybe he would. And you have to realize Martrosian's going to have a jack sometimes. Obviously, Samuel could have some jacks. So I suppose you want to have a bluff raising range sometimes? I guess? I don't know. High-level poker going on here. Things that I do not even comprehend. If you comprehend this, let me know in the comment section what is happening in this hand. I mean, I guess you're supposed to have some bluffs from a GTO point of view, right? Undercards, I guess, make a lot of sense. Maybe you're supposed to have a hand like a king or a queen or a 10 or a 9 to bluff here. That way you block some of the jacks your opponent could have. I guess it doesn't make a whole lot of sense in my mind to bluff here with undercards because while Martrosian does have like jack 6 suited in his range, he may not even have like jack 4 offsuit or something like that. So I think you probably just want to block the logical jacks. Ace jack may 3-bet preflop. King jack may 3-bet preflop. So queen jack, jack 10, jack 9, jack 8. Those are probably the blockers you want to have. So you want to have those kickers. Cool spot, right? Cool spot to consider. This is a situation where basically no one bluffs. But here we are. We see Martrosian going for the bluff to begin with, which I thought was pretty optimistic. And then we see Samuel going for it as well. Cool spot, right? This Martrosian call, I don't know. If your opponent's capable of bluffing with the 6s, obviously you got to call it off, right? Does he call it off? He does. Chop it up. Everyone loves a chop pot. Is that what they say? No. Wrong place. WTF. Wild hand. Weird hand. I'm going to go study some more heads-up poker. That's it for today. If you enjoyed this video, please let the people at Poker News know. Also, let the people at GG know that you enjoy me reviewing their content. Thanks to them for letting me review the content as well. We'll put a link in the description to their channel. Make sure you go there and check them out. Good luck in your games. Have fun. Get in there. Battle. Make your opponent say what WTF. And have a lot of fun. Thanks for watching today's video, and just as a quick reminder, make sure you take advantage of the completely free video that Matt Affleck just released, where he goes through his databases, students' databases, and he makes sure that you and they are all playing well leading up to this World Series of Poker. Get that video completely free right now at pokercoaching.com/WSOP. I hope you learn a ton. Howdy, partners. Station Master Little here with a public service announcement.
It's come to my attention that a few of you have become extreme calling stations. Now, I love calling. I'm the station master after all. But you can't call with queen high every time. Sometimes you have to fold.
Click subscribe to make sure you don't become a superstation.